Good morning. So I wanted to talk about how anxiety manifests for us all, and actually just to talk through what's happening in the body, because sometimes I think we're very aware of when we feel anxious, but we're not always aware of actually what's happening in the body. And for me, I always believe that when we have an understanding of what's happening, that can sometimes take away some of the fear around how horrible it can feel. Because let's face it, feeling anxious, feeling overwhelmed, feeling that sense of panic is a really horrible feeling. It's really, really scary. So our bodies are hardwired to keep us safe. So one of our most instinctual kind of reactions is the kind of fight or flight response. It's automatic. We don't need to think about it. The body, if it senses or believes that we're under attack or there's any sort of danger, then it goes immediately into this fight, flight, freeze response. And basically it's just priming us in order to be able to run away from that source of danger, or to temporarily have this increased strength in that moment to be able to fight off whatever that danger is. And that's wonderful if we want that response, if we actually truly are in danger. What's not so helpful is that the mind can't determine whether it's a real thing that's happening. If you think about it, if we think back to the times when it was back to when we might have been at risk of saber-toothed tigers or bears attacking us. If it was an actual thing that was attacking us, then we want that response. We want it to naturally kick in. The mind, though, as I was saying, can't determine whether it's a real threat that's here, i.e. the tiger, or whether it's just a thought. And it will respond in exactly the same way. So it does a couple of things simultaneously. It's really clever. So first thing that, and often people might notice, is when they feel stressed or worried or anxious, we tend to run to the toilet a bit more often. So the body will make us as light as we possibly can be. So it'll empty the bowel and it'll empty the bladder. And once it's done that, then really the body's kind of response is, if you think about it, the heart is simply the pump. So the heart starts to beat faster, the pump works a bit harder. We then start to breathe a bit quicker. We breathe much shallow. Our breathing becomes really shallow. So we breathe a lot quicker because we're trying to draw in as much oxygen as we can. Because if the heart's the pump, the blood's the fuel. And we're kind of trying to make that fuel as efficient as it can be. So we're pulling in all of this oxygen. And then because we've eliminated any kind of waste products, we've got emptied the bowel, emptied the bladder, really are in this moment in time digesting food. Our digestive system's not the most necessary. So it temporarily switches that blood supply away from our digestive system and directs it more to our bigger muscles, so our muscles in our arms and our legs, so that we can run or we can fight whatever that danger is. So often when you think about how people experience anxiety, what they talk about is that kind of sense of noticing that their heart's beating really fast, almost to the feels like their heart's going to bounce out their chest. They notice that it feels almost like they can't get a breath because they're breathing really, really fast. Or people will describe that horrible sicky feeling in their stomach, so that sense of like butterflies in your tummy or your stomach's just churning. And that actually is us having an awareness of that sense of the blood supply just temporarily moving away from those organs. Other times what people will describe is they'll have that real sense of all of a sudden it's like a heat that rushes from their feet. And if you think about it, all of this blood is now rushing to the surface. It's rushing to these big muscles. So we're going to have that sense of that heat of the blood, that rush of fresh blood to these big muscles. And if these big muscles are getting all of this fresh blood, so they're getting basically pumped to run or to fight. So sometimes people describe that they start to get like kind of shaky legs, or they just feel a bit shaky or a bit unsteady, or a kind of agitated feeling in the body. And I always describe it, how I think about it in my mind, it's like a little wind-up toy, and we've wound, as part of this natural stress response, it's like we've wound the body up, preparing it just to run or to fight or to get away from whatever that danger is. So the muscles are primed, they're just ready, they're just waiting for us to let them go. So if in that moment we had to run away, then we would burn off all of that energy that was there. The challenge that all of us have at the moment is that stress response is likely to come from hearing something on the news, reading something on social media. It triggers that response of, if you think about everything that's happened with COVID-19, we have that response of the world is not safe just now. I may not be safe. My people that I love and care about may not be safe, and it triggers that stress response in the body. So we're likely to experience that kind of tightness, heaviness in the chest, that racing heart, or that kind of sense of feeling like I can't catch my breath, or that horrible sick feeling in your stomach, or that knot in the tummy, or just that horrible feeling of agitation, just I don't know what to do myself, I can't sit still. Because if you think about it, when the body believes it's under attack and it believes it's in danger, and this is why I often think when we talk about sleep, if everything is kind of energetically in your body believing that it's under attack, why the heck would we sit still? Because it's going to be like, what the heck are you doing, Amy? Get up, move. We're not safe. Get moving, get out of here. And often that's why when we think about nighttime, when we go to bed, that's often when our houses are the most quiet. All of that distraction is gone. So when we go there, the mind can start to kind of process all of the information that it's received throughout the day. So all of those anxious thoughts might kind of just start to roll around in the mind. And if we then trigger that stress response, then trying to get, why on earth would the body let us sleep in that moment? Because it doesn't believe we're safe. So something simple that we can really do is start to notice for us what are some of the first things that we notice when we feel stressed. For me personally, I sometimes notice my pulse in my ears, so I can hear my pulse in my ears. I get that horrible sicky feeling in my tummy. Sometimes I notice that I kind of like something feels stuck here. So when I notice these, if I can recognise these are my body's way of telling me that it's responding to an anxious thought. So if I think that my body it believes it needs to run or it needs to fight, actually how I can help my body get rid of this anxious energy is to move my body. So it might be that I get up and I go for a walk. Even better if I can get outside so I can get a bit of fresh air. So actually as I'm starting to breathe, I can feel that nice coolness of air come into my body. So as I'm starting to move, I'm starting to use up all of this adrenaline, all of this cortisol, that stress, the stress hormones that are in the body. And what I'll naturally start to feel is that start to tail off. So maybe after I've had like a little bit of a walk around, I've moved the body, I might choose to do a little bit of yoga at that point, just to help my body kind of almost allow that horrible anxious feeling out, give it a root out. Then I might choose to do some breathing. So then I might choose to use a little technique called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So as I'm walking about, I might then just choose to pause for a moment, really notice my feet on the floor, and then I'm going to look for 5 things that I can see. So where I am standing right now, 5 things that I can see, 4 things that I can hear, 3 things that I could immediately touch. So I might be able to notice the ground beneath my feet. I might notice the texture of the clothing I'm wearing. I might be outside, so there might be leaves or different things I can touch. Then I'm going to look for 2 things I can smell. And then I'm going to look for the last, something I can taste. Now I've just brushed my teeth, so the thing I can taste in my mouth is toothpaste. But it might be that you can just taste the saliva. It might be you've just had something to eat. It might be like just again noticing a taste. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And what that does is it breaks us out of that thought, those worrying thoughts, and it brings us into this present moment. Because anxiety tends to be about the future. We're often not anxious for this moment. Because at this moment I'm sitting at home, I'm well, I have the things that I need, my family are here. Right in this moment I am safe and I am well. Anxious thoughts that I might have might be about what could happen. They're not about what's happening to me right now. So I hope that helps just to understand what's happening in the body. So we tend to go into that stress response, fight, flight, freeze. And the freeze element comes when sometimes it becomes so scary that we almost disassociate from it. we almost just freeze because we don't know what to do in that moment. But what people tend to notice is they notice more that feeling of wanting to run away from something, or that agitation, that energy, that fight energy that comes up. And when we've moved the body, when we've maybe focused in on the breath and just started to kind of be aware of the things that are around about us, started to really calm the body, we flip back into the opposite of that response, and we flip into what's known as our parasympathetic response, or our rest and digest. And a real kind of a little thing to kind of watch out for is when we slip back into it. We often call it the relaxation rumble, because you might notice that as the blood flow returns to the digestive system, your tummy starts to kind of rumble. It makes all these weird kind of noises. Often why people, when they maybe do meditation, or they go into relaxation, or they maybe go for a massage or something that's really relaxing, all of a sudden they'll notice that their tummy starts growling. And for any practitioners who are either leading a practice or giving you a therapy, it's a really good sign, because that's a sign that the body has switched out of fight and flight and come back into rest and digest. So notice for you where that anxiety lives in the body. Remember that ultimately our body thinks it's helping. It thinks its only agenda is to keep us safe. It cannot determine though whether something is real and it's happening right now, or if it's simply a thought. So help the body when we have that feeling. So move the body, just get up and move, go into a different space, go outside, take nice big deep breaths, use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 approach, and just recognise that it's often just a thought. It's not real. So maybe just reminding and affirming with ourselves, that I'm safe, I'm healthy, I'm well. I hope that helps.